Like you see these videos on TikTok, just do it. I'm not gonna say what it is, just do it. Ain't nobody gonna do shit because the left is full of a bunch of like, it's not like nobody's gonna do shit. That's why they're comfortable making these TikToks. They're gonna stay on TikTok and they're gonna be like, just do it. I'm not gonna say nothing. I'm not gonna tell. Just do it. Ain't nobody gonna do shit.
You know what I'm saying? Drop a like, leave a comment, let me know you're in here. We finna have fun tonight.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, so we're going to mix it up, hopefully have a constructive but calm conversation with some different viewpoints, some very different viewpoints with you two on the show today. But the first thing we have to talk about is something I think basically everybody agrees is horrible. I've seen it condemned across the spectrum, the political spectrum. That's the firebombing attack against several Jewish people who were protesting for the return of hostages. This comes just a week or so after a really terrible attack on 2 Israeli embassy employees. And I guess rather than get into the specifics of it, I think it's a launching point for an important conversation.
Of it. Whereas I feel
passes.
like obviously the right is not a stranger to violent extremism, but I feel like we kind of keep count of those people a little better. Like I think the right has always been painfully aware that we have the KKK people on our side, we have the Nazis, we have the people who are more prone to that, but those people have always been rightly, clocked as that. Whereas I feel like a lot of people on the left that engage in certain things don't ever get hit with the actual label of domestic terrorist or even just the adjective violent. You have the fact that there's still some people that debate whether Antifa was, just it just means they're against fascism, or are they willing to do certain things with those beliefs that, we don't believe in as Americans because we don't believe in violence to get our point across. And ultimately that's what separates us from countries and belief systems encoded into law in certain countries that actually permit violence and permit, murder in certain circumstances. It is really, really unfortunate. And
talking about 30
I just
seconds.
hate it. As a Christian, I feel like I'm watching these 2 other religions that are primarily on the other side of the planet. And I'm watching bloodshed and hatred. And it just feels like it's getting to a point where I don't really know where everything is going. And it makes you check yourself when you're talking about this stuff, that you don't want to say the wrong thing. It's like, I don't know. It's a lot. It's a lot of responsibility to even commentate on it, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Obviously, blanket condemnation of violence, but it's also more complicated than that. But it's hard to put words to that sometimes, because it's time to sometimes be humble also, that like as Americans, we do not know what's going on over there to any sort of large extent. And it's a tough one.
Yeah, so I agree with you. We don't have the solutions to solve the hundreds and hundreds or even thousands of years long Israel-Palestine conflict here today. But Adam, to you, do you see this as a problem on the left, or do you think it's just isolated fringe figures?
I think that it's isolated fringe figures, but we have seen an increase of it happening. But any increase is absolutely trounced by the amount of right-wing violence we've seen over the past decade. If you want to talk about the
he got straight to the shits.
firebombings, that dude was an Egyptian immigrant named Mohammed Salman. And I really don't think this dude was progressive or woke. I don't know his specific views, but I would have a tough time categorizing a lot of like either Islamic fundamentalists or people who support Israel-Palestine as left-wing. But even if I were to concede that, because I'm sure a lot are, absolutely, you still don't see even nearly the same amount of violence coming from the left that you've seen from the right in the past decade. If you want to talk about anti-Semitism in particular, there was a Tree of Life shooting, which killed, I believe, 10 people. There was another synagogue shooting a few years before that. The attacks on black churches or synagogues far outweigh any college protest students that are like, screaming from the river to the sea. So I disagree with the fact that when Blair said that the right seems to acknowledge the problem more, I also disagree. Or you said something to that effect. I don't want to misquote you, but you said the right seems to acknowledge the extremism problem they have. I disagree. I think you guys elected somebody who, in a top-down way, emboldens that extremism. If you want to talk about...
That's true, but they do. I don't think the right fully accepts like the KKKs and the Nazis. They as a rule of thumb, they don't. But I agree that they did. It's like they say, you just because you vote for Trump, it doesn't make you a racist. But all racists vote for Trump. You know what I'm saying? Like so. It does. Trump emboldens a lot of those people. That's a fact.
Anti-Semitism.
What is the Tree of Life? I don't know what that is.
Particular, Trump did have a dinner with Nick Fuentes a few years back. Even if you want to put that to the side, Trump has emboldened a lot of this anti-Semitic rhetoric over the past few years. So I think that when you want to talk about extremism, we should talk about, number one, the statistics. Let's ground it in reality with stats. We can compare the stats. 76% of extremist violence that is lethal has been done by right-wingers over the past decade. But also, let's look at the top leading figures. So is the other percent
the left?
In the party.
That's a big disparity.
In the Democratic Party that has used as much bombastic rhetoric as Trump? This isn't exactly like political extremism, but even on Memorial Day, Trump sent out this all caps Truth Social post. So the idea that the right acknowledges their
26 is crazy.
extremism when the dude who they elected sends out these extreme ass posts and riles up his fan base, I disagree.
He posts crazy stuff for sure. You won't catch me denying that.
What is
I
he
think the difference
speaks?
is, I'm not even going to necessarily quibble with you that, for example, the firebomber, not a left-wing guy. I don't know his personal politics, and there are these instances of like right-wing people committing heinous crimes, like you
Not
mentioned.
instances. Sorry, it's a repeated pattern.
Okay, but
Oh.
the difference is like you won't find anybody who was like, yeah, the Tree of Life synagogue shooter
petty.
was right. Whereas I don't know, Adam, do you use TikTok? Because I have a specific question in mind.
Yeah, sort of, not as much as other
Have you?
gingers, but yeah.
I can for the audience, maybe I'll insert one here. But have you seen these "somebody just do it" videos all over TikTok? Do you know what I'm referencing?
Yeah.
It's viral every day. You can't even scroll past it. And I don't have a left-wing algorithm.
This is for the person out there who's planning on doing it. The thing that we all wake up every day hoping.
But you know what though, with this trend, I heard about this. That's how you know the left got a bunch of bitches on it, because nobody doing shit. like you see these videos on TikTok, this just do it. I'm not gonna say what it is, just do it. Ain't nobody gonna do shit because the left is full of a bunch of pussies. Like, it's not like nobody's gonna do shit. That's why they're comfortable making these TikToks. They're gonna stay on TikTok and they're gonna be like, just do it. I'm not gonna say nothing. I'm not gonna tell. Just do it. Ain't nobody gonna do shit. The right is got the motherfuckers that be out about that action. Fuck is we talking about? Like, that's why this shit's staying on TikTok. Nobody on the left is gonna do shit.
We'll see in the news. And we're like,
Coming from somebody on the left. I ain't doing shit violent to nobody. Fuck.
Keep going. Your plan, it's gonna work. If not, it'll inspire the next person. And we are all rooting for you. You have our support. You have our admiration.
Or is this about positivity? I don't be on TikTok either, but the trend is like they just saying, just do it. You're not gonna say anything, just do it. It's basically like insinuating violence.
And we might make a national holiday out of you. And I will definitely put money on your books. And if you're into
money on your books. Okay, so it ain't nothing positive. Clearly, ain't no mincing words here.
this sort of thing, I'll write you
Not they saying go to jail. We'll put money on your books to just do it. Get the fuck.
some letters of the naughty sort.
I think it's a dog whistle of an assassination. I think that's what it is. That's what it's supposed to be.
Should you find yourself behind bars for it, but we're all rooting for you and hoping that you do it quickly and get away with it. Power to the people.
Yeah.
It's gonna be right here. We all know it needs to be done, right?
But as I said, nobody's gonna do shit on the left. That's the difference. The right actually be about that action. Not saying we should, but
If I do it, are y'all gonna convict
damn,
me?
Bunny. That's my screen time is like that for YouTube though. I spend, because especially with my job, I can listen to YouTube videos all day. So most of my screen time is YouTube. And then I got premium too, so I ain't even got to touch the bitch. So I just be listening to videos all fucking day at work because I can listen to shit.
Because somebody got to do it.
So can someone just do it? Can someone just do it?
Can someone? Why y'all don't do
Just
it? Y'all
do
talking
it.
about can
Every
someone?
day that I wake up, I just hope someone takes one for the team. Just go out in a blaze of glory.
That's
We
the
will
other thing.
always
It's a
keep
bitch shit. They like, hey, y'all go do that shit. I'm not gonna do it, but somebody else go do it.
money on your book. We will write you letters every day. We'll put your face on prayer candles, build statues of.
The concern that I have, Adam, is not necessarily the perpetrators having one skew, because either way I can condemn them, but I see with the young progressive base, and there's extensive polling on this, like almost a genuine bloodlust, like an actual
On the
support for the
president.
assassination attempts against Trump,
Oh,
for
you
violence
was
against
telling
Tesla,
Trump.
against Elon Musk. You don't see that on your own side at all?
I do see it, but I want to ask the question to you. If I were to point to you Lindsey Graham's tweet where he said, I hope Greta knows how to swim, which you could like argue is inciting violence, that's
Damn.
coming from a sitting senator who's 69 years
That's insane. If he done that, that's insane.
old. You're talking about 22-year-old TikTokers. Can you point
The
to me a
amount
Democratic,
of things that
can you
are
point to me a
just like you
Democratic
said,
politician who has said something to that effect?
there are
That's
montages.
very true. You can point to a lot of people in positions of power and politicians that have made calls to violence, including fucking Trump. So it's just like a lot of these people in positions have done shit, and Brad know he ain't got no response. And then it's always for the left. It's like random people on TikTok and X and shit.
Videos, and I encourage you to look them up, of Democratic politicians, celebrities, people in office, people as high up as Joe Biden and Kamala Harris making jokes about somebody killing Trump, somebody hurting Trump, violence all the time.
Hey, Bunny.
You have
Yeah, I
Maxine
like
Wa-
essays too, but I watch so much shit. Gaming, politics, debates, video essays, documentaries, murder, all that shit. Like, I listen to so much shit.
What is her name? Maxine Waters, the infamous. You have to surround people.
They always go to Maxine Waters. That's their only one, and that's still not even a blatant call to violence. Like, that's the only one they go to.
Violence all the time. You have Maxine, what is her name? Maxine Waters, the infamous. You have to surround people outside places. You had the transgender shooter at the Christian school. You had, I'm sure you don't.
That's not a politician.
Know this because most Democrats don't even know. I mean, or I can ask you, how many people do you think died during the COVID 2020 riots?
What the fuck does that? That's still not a politician making a call to violence. He just said you can point. And Lindsey Graham isn't the only one. Donald Trump has done it. Like there's people, Marjorie Taylor Greene. These people have called to violence as leaders. You're naming random people, and the only one you got is Maxine Waters. That's all y'all always say, and that's still not a blatant call to violence. What she said.
As a result of left-wing
in the
violence.
mid-20s?
It was almost 30. So
I'm not laughing. No, I'm sorry. I'm not laughing because people died, but to hear that 30 people died from the whole 2020 riots that happened is laughable when you consider. I believe PTJ just said 26 people died from a right winger. 26 people. That's one person that did that. She's talking about a summer of riots amongst the entire country. 30 people died. And when I looked up a lot of the people that died from the riots, it's not like it was the crimes aren't people walking up to people and trying to murder them. It's like accidental deaths and shit like that from recklessness. It's not like blatant acts of I'm going to murder you type of violence.
So people, this is what I mean. Playing a tit for
Bunny,
tat
I
being
pick and
like,
choose what I watch
violent.
off
I guess
stream
you can
and on
points in history
stream.
and you can flip flop back and forth, or you can condemn it totally. And on top of that, you can go to the next step to acknowledge rather than just deny all the instances of violence on the left and say
Join
that
the
they're
Discord,
isolated,
Bunny.
because we can sit
If
here
you're
and
trying to
list
start
every
a
single
channel,
instance.
we
You
could
could
work
say,
towards that.
list one right back, and then I could do just one by one for the almost 30 people during the COVID 2020 riots.
Wait, okay, sorry.
Violence on the left, and you can go to the next step to acknowledge rather than just deny all the instances of violence on the left and say that they're isolated, because we can sit here and list every single instance. You could say, I could, list one right back, and then I could do just one by one for almost 30 people during the COVID 2020 riots. And then I could be petty and compare that to January 6th, where only one person died and it was actual Trump supporter. So there's a million.
But this is the fact of there's a bunch of the people that was attacking the police. Oh, okay. You just don't. Okay, Bunny, you in there. You got to start chatting it up, man. You got to talk some more.
Tit for tats. It's just about how violence is the thing that separates us from these countries that are about to take themselves and the rest of the world into World War III. Like it is what it is. It's viral every day. People saying to somebody, go kill Trump every day. And the same is not present on
But yet the only people that attempted to kill him was people on the right. Go fucking figure. Go figure.
Right. Also, if you go to any of these left-wing protests right now,
make sure y'all, I don't know how, if it's still 100 people in here, that's crazy. Make sure y'all leave a like and engage with the stream.
If
it's still 100 of y'all in here, I appreciate it.
And wanting more,
because I know that community was brought together through all three of us. So, but if you still in here and you join the content, leave a like, comment. We having fun over here.
And more murder.
We'll come to it, Luigi. We'll come to it.
It's okay, man.
But it's just a point to be made. It's like to act like one side has a monopoly on violence or violent thought or words that you can consider, turning into violence later from the top down. Trump's the one that's got shot at twice in the last election cycle. Like
from right wingers. Don't leave that part out, ma'am.
From the top
don't
down.
leave that part out.
Trump's the one that's got shot at twice in the last election cycle. Like it's not even. But even so, we can just say,
who shot it?
Can I get a response to that after, Brad?
Yes, I will.
Who shot at Trump?
Polling data, and then Adam, I'll give you the floor for a couple minutes.
You used to watch Blair?
So this is from a Tufts study in partnership with the Network Contagion project. Murder justification, 31% and 38% of respondents said it would be at least somewhat justified to murder Elon Musk and President Trump, respectively. These effects were driven by respondents that self-identify as left of center, with 48 and 55% at least somewhat justifying murder for Elon Musk and President Trump, respectively. I don't know. I see it viral. I see it in the data. A real progressive sentiment here, Adam, but a few minutes for you to just respond.
Yeah, I love how for the left is what people think and what their opinions are, but the right is like these people are actually out here committing crimes. like people on the left, they're like 50% of them think it'll be justified to murder Trump, but the people that only tried to murder Trump is people on the right. What the fuck?
I'll respond to the Luigi stuff in 1 second, but Blair said we could sit here for a while and go tit for tat on all of these different cases. I mean,
Yeah, we
not
could.
really. We can go tit for tat, but I'll tell you right now, 76% of extremist killings over the past decade were done by right wingers. So even if we put aside all anecdotes or all specific cases, or the idea that I could list off a name, then you list off a name, I don't want to do that either. So let's just look at the stats from the ADL or the FBI. It's 76% done by right wingers. A lot of them mass shootings. So then, sorry, I wrote down some of the notes so I didn't forget. Then Blair said essentially that a lot of the TikTok algorithm is saying, like, there's a lot of videos of people saying something to the effect of just do it.
Viral every day.
Viral every day, sure, but I'd like to go back to one of my first points. Again, number one, look at the stats on who actually commits these crimes. But where is this coming from? In a top-down manner, are TikTokers trying to incite violence, or is that different than?
Yes.
So
Real quick, I think
yes.
Really quickly, can I?
And there's endless montage videos of Democrat politicians engaging in that as well.
I can point to you guys trucks that Republicans used to drive where Biden was hog-tied in the back. I can point to you guys Trump calling for Mark Milley to be executed in slightly different words. Calling
Trump
him a
got
traitor.
shot at twice, dude.
By people on the right. Why you keep saying that? Like, it wasn't nobody on the left that did it.
And was that a left winger or right
no,
winger?
100%.
First time or second time? Wait,
100%.
He was not a left
winger. Was
winger.
a left winger doing it? Because
They
first one
both
was
were. Well, first of all, I think the first one was an MK Ultra victim, if we're being honest. So that's a little bit off the table.
Oh my God! Even if that was the case, how does that matter, Blair? Like, come on.
But the second one, you know, it was about Ukraine, and they were on the left. Why is it so important to you that you guys like don't have a monopoly on violence in your mind? Like, why is that such an important thing you're hanging on to?
It's not a monopoly on violence, but can you point to me one Democratic senator who has said something like Lindsey Graham said? And you keep saying there are these montages of people saying stuff, calling to kill Trump.
Graham say?
So Lindsey,
what does it matter what Lindsey Graham say? Yeah, what does it matter that actual politicians in Congress say? Yeah, who cares what they say if they call to violence for the fucking constituents? Who gives a fuck?
Graham, I think I doubt that was meant 100% seriously, but I do think it's a contemptible
It doesn't
comment
matter if it was serious.
You know, drone striked by the IDF or whatever. I mean, if he meant that at all seriously, even if he meant it,
it's not hard to say that's wrong. It's not.
Senator shouldn't say that.
It's the weird denial of the fact that you can even say, it goes viral every day from Democrats saying they want to kill Trump, but Lindsey Graham's tweet.
Any calls to violence from
people. Brett, what is these cuts, bro? What are these cuts? It's too many and it's annoying. What are you cutting, bro?
On the left on TikTok, that is terrible. But can you tell the difference between someone going into a Walmart in El Paso, Texas and shooting 23 people dead with like white supremacy ingrained on their rifle?
Black.
And can you tell me exactly how this Luigi hype has manifested? So you guys are reading off some polls saying that, like,
yes, we can do that. Like I said, I would rather avoid it, but there was also a non-binary transgender shooter who went in to a Christian school and killed a bunch of angels, children of God themselves.
Okay, so if we went,
we can do that, or we can just say violence is bad, and perhaps probably move on to the next topic because it's not difficult.
If we went and we played,
why is she saying move on? The whole topic is about the left. It's about violence on the left and the right, isn't it? Why is she trying to move on?
That game, who
just
would run out
it's
first?
Wrong. Oh my, it's so weird.
It's weird because
no one on the right is denying. No one on the right is denying that we have losers who do loser shit, and no one's denying that we have extremists on our side. I see it all the time.
Regardless.
But there's this weird denial. The fact that you can even brush past how big of a deal it is. The argument ends when you can just say that every day it goes viral. The masses of Democrats calling for the murder of Donald Trump, who was already shot at twice.
Can I say one thing?
Number one,
I absolutely explicitly condemn it. But if we played this tit for tat game, no. If we played this tit for tat game, who would run out of people first?
I'm not playing.
Can you explain to me?
Adam, like, no, I'm gonna get you on camera to say. It's a little petty, but I get why he's doing it. He has to, when you're on these spaces, when you're on these right-wing spaces, because Blair is more to the right than Brad. Like, Brad doesn't support Trump. Blair supports Trump. But Brad is a never Trumper, I believe. So he's more center than Blair. And when you're on these platforms, that's why he's not gonna let this go. Because there's no way for his Brad and Blair's audience to not see. He's like, hey, if we played tit for tat, who gonna run out first? Tell me, who is gonna run out first? She can't answer it because it's gonna look bad.
Great, so we can go to the next topic.
No. If we played this tit for tat game, who would run out of people first?
I'm not playing this.
Can you explain to me the left-wing equivalent of the El Paso, Texas shooting?
You guys killed 30 people in the COVID 2020 riots. Yeah.
To me, the left-wing equivalent of the El Paso, Texas shooting.
You guys killed 30 people in the COVID 2020 riots. Yeah.
You guys killed people in the 2020 riots. You have to. First of all, some of them people probably got killed on both sides, and the police probably killed people during that shit. And that's one person killing 30 people versus I don't know how many people. Each case might be different for the 30 that died the whole summer versus 30 people dying in a one store. Is she serious? Come on, bro. It's not that the people don't matter, but the way you're framing these is if they're the same type of instance is different because people die in different places for different reasons all the time. And that fucking Those riots were across the country. The protests were across the world, honestly. They were across the whole fucking world. But it was the whole country was protesting. And you talking about 30 people versus one guy killing 30 people in a store. Come on, bro. Come on.
Anyways, next topic. We have to say all violence is wrong.
A mass shooting versus...
Look, she backed off of it. She backed off and she said it.
Killed 30 people in the COVID 2020 riots. Yeah. Anyways, next topic. We have to say all violence is wrong.
A mass shooting versus 6 months of millions of people rioting and people dying.
Exactly.
That's not like
millions
an intentional
people
gun.
riot, but okay.
Okay,
wait.
Millions of people rioting and people dying. That's not like an intentional shooting gun.
Riot, but okay.
Okay.
Oh, so millions didn't riot. So you're saying that it wasn't I ain't gonna say mostly. Well, yeah, it wasn't mostly riots, but she's backing off of it wasn't mostly riots. So they were mostly protesting, right? There was mostly protesting when y'all love to act like the whole thing was about riots. Come on.
Okay, but here's the thing. Riots done for political reasons where someone dies on accident is not the same as a white supremacist with white supremacism stuff like carved into his gun.
This is true. This is true. None of it's okay. I don't want anybody to die, but this is true. This is true. It's totally different. That's why I said, even the people that died during the riots in 2020, it wasn't people going up to it, for the most part, people wasn't going up to people killing them.
Can you say
there's also
I have one final question, Blair.
There's also more to the metric of like who's pro-violence or less pro-violence. Okay, if you want to take it to the macro rather than just like this which side is more pro-war right now? The left is inarguably more pro-war.
Come on, bro.
So
now you talk about war. It's fucking war. Like, come on. Nobody, like, even if we grant that the left is more pro-war than the right, at least it's legal violence. Like, what the fuck? That's the type of violence we expect people to die, like, and people volunteer to go into. That's the type of violence that's acceptable, more or less, for a country to be involved in. So, and it's not even really about pro-war. It's about supporting Ukraine, who wants to be at war. We Americans aren't out there giving their lives.
It's like what? They're more pro-violence as long as it's in a different country where they don't have to deal with it. It's just
but this is stupid.
The bloodthirst is 100%, has not always been, but it is absolutely tipped more on the left side right now. And it actually is better if we can just say all of it is wrong.
Like, according to the FBI and the ADL, you guys commit more mass shootings. And then you cite BLM riots in response to the Walmart El Paso shooting, the Tree of Life synagogue, the Buffalo supermarket.
Yes, people being killed.
Riot. I mean,
people being killed by the dozens during riots, and that's not even counting all the injuries. That's not even counting all the property damage. There's more to terrorism. There's more to terrorism than just actual murder as well. There's a lot more to it. There's intimidation. There's running people out of cities by burning them down for 3 months straight. There's physically assaulting people, which you see all the time on campuses. Terrorism is not just literally ending a life. It's also physically harming people and using terror to incite to get what you want. The argument ends with the fact that every day it goes viral, you guys wanting to kill the president, and you guys are invariably, inarguably more pro-war, which means you just want more murder, but over here where it's not having to affect you. That's just objective speaking.
That's like I said, it's so stupid because like I said, at the end of the day, that's still war. War, and Brad looking like, oh, she got a point. No, it's just like, obviously war is different than senseless, racist violence and for intolerance. That's totally different. War at the end of the day is typically fought for a greater purpose. You would be pro-war too if somebody was invading our country and we had to fight for it. You would be pro-war too.
Objective.
My final point, if I can say one last thing, is that when you look at all the stats, of course,
I think Blair is going through it because she's so fidgety. Y'all see how much she's moving, and I know they both talk. I sped it up a little bit so it's like they're talking fast, but you see how fidgety Blair is. Like, she's so uncomfortable because I think she knows she's losing.
When you look at who's actually perpetrating this, yes, any TikToker saying that, I will explicitly condemn. Anybody saying that, it's really dumb. Why would you can just say in
TikToker where it's like, okay, what about the 3 million likes per post that they get? It's like,
that's the concern.
Okay, not one person. Jr. You guys support people killing people in the streets because you don't agree with their role in a health company. You guys agree with more war.
That part,
you guys go viral every day for wanting to kill the president, and he got shot at twice. Your guy didn't get shot at. It is what it is.
Stop saying you guys. Like, I agree with this.
But if he did, I would sit here and say that is wrong.
The point here is that I think whether it's the El Paso incident, the Walmart shooting, whether it's this recent bout of political violence, I think we all agree it's morally wrong. But what I will say is no one really defends most of these things, but there is this widespread numerical polling-based support that we see in our algorithms with this content that's like joking. And I don't know, Adam, specifically on the free Luigi point. So for context for listeners, this is Luigi Mangione, who is alleged, but like it's very clear that he did do it, in my view, to have killed a healthcare CEO, Brian Thompson. We have data on this as well. An Emerson College poll found that 41% of 18 to 29-year-old voters believe that the killing was somewhat or completely acceptable, compared to 40% who believe that it was somewhat or completely unacceptable. I mean, that scares me. And I guess we don't know the political affiliation of every one of those people, but I imagine many of them are progressives who want universal health care and all of that. That scares me because this is basically open support for political terrorism, assassinating people to send a political message. I mean, without mentioning Republicans, can you speak on that, Adam?
Yeah, I think that is definitely an extremist strain of thought. And I think a lot of people, especially the younger people, speaking as a young person, are a little bit morally confused on whether they understand why he did it, as in like the healthcare system is completely effed and we need better healthcare. And they're so morally confused that they take that to the next level where they think that they're okay with the entire act. And I'm not going to take it to Republicans, but I guess the question that I would pose is, how does this rhetoric online manifest in person? Because I guess I am going to take it to Republicans really quickly. When Trump spread all these things about Pelosi and Paul Pelosi and Nancy Pelosi, that manifested in the form of someone beating Paul Pelosi in the head with a hammer, and then Don Jr. made fun of it that same month. I want to ask Blair.
I think that's wrong.
Okay, Blair, I'm sure Blair thinks it's wrong too, but Blair, can you tell me like what Luigi supporters have done? Like how is this manifested is the question.
Well, first of all, Brad asked you to not bring up Republicans when just being able to say that murder is wrong. We should
want to know the
glorifying
answer.
it. So I want to point that out. But I also want to say, obviously the Paul Pelosi stuff was gross as well, but our guy got shot at twice. And
do you have an answer to Luigi?
Oh my
as if that is
God.
isolated from
Luigi supporters were
to
talking about
pretend
Luigi.
that is isolated from. You brought up Republicans. I can answer and talk about Republicans too, including them being shot by Democrats.
At least answer my question later.
I'll get there. But you talked about two things, so I'm going to answer you about two things.
Give Blair a moment, Adam, and then I'll come back to you, and then we'll move along.
So,
but try not to interrupt.
To pretend as if
Adam's so
Trump
petty.
getting shot at twice was not the result of the worst near decade at the time of hateful rhetoric about Trump, regardless of how you feel about him. The amount of, like I said, things that you can point to that public figures have said, we have to take him out. Even
that's
just
what
in
I
pop culture,
said. Like
SNL,
she keeps saying he got shot at twice. I'm like, no, he got shot at once. He did not get shot
doing
at
the
twice.
thing, shooting him in the head, just over and over and over again. I was on tour when he got shot, and I just played a montage video, and it was 3 minutes long. Every Democratic person making jokes about killing him, taking him out back, and then he gets shot at twice. So that is an example. Since you keep wanting the top down thing, that's so important to you. The top down is there for sure, and then you see the bottom up. Condoning top-down comments like that going viral every day with Democrats wanting that. So it's okay with the people on the ground, and it's okay with their leaders. That's just what it is. And to deny that is weird. But to answer about Luigi, first of all, to say what is it manifested to, I mean, that movement's a relatively new one. So I guess we probably shouldn't be holding our breath. I mean, it took a few years for Trump to get shot at too. But
he could kill again. Someone else could get killed.
100%. If here's where on a macro level, how that manifests and actually is toxic for society. It slowly muddies the water of morality, which you admitted to, that people are confused about what is right and what is wrong. When murder is the thing that people can't find perfect consensus to, okay, that's wrong.
And that's the difference, PTJ. Like, that's the part that kills me. These people won't ever condemn Trump for the worst shit that he's done, to the easiest thing to call out to the hardest thing to call out. They won't ever. We don't sit here and cape for Democrats that do foul shit. I don't give a fuck about Eric Adams. Like, y'all think I'm finna cape for Eric Adams because he's black or a Democrat? Fuck out of here. If Joe Biden was doing the shit that Trump is doing or did, I would be like, fuck out of here. I don't want nobody like that. I don't care about corrupt people. I don't care about terrible people. You can disagree with Joe Biden's policy all day. I don't care. But he hasn't engaged in this type of behavior in the slightest. You know what I'm saying? Like, we wouldn't want this. And y'all just don't give a fuck. Because I really have a theory that people on the right know that they're... This is fucked up, but I do believe it. I think that they know that they're wrong, but their heels are so dug in with their lifestyle, their friends and family, their careers, and they can't switch because it'll ruin all of that. And so they have to dig their heels in even further just to survive every day, just to feel content with, because the cognitive dissonance is just so, that shit is difficult to deal with. Like, I've been through it, so I know what it feels like to challenge your beliefs. But these people, I feel like they know they lost the the I guess the way of life to progressive ideas. Like since the beginning of time, we've been progressive. We've been moving forward. We're accepting things we didn't accept. We're learning new things that we wasn't comfortable with or knew before. And these people don't want to accept it. And I think it's just so. I think a lot of them, not all. I think a lot of them know that they got to a point where like maybe I was on the wrong side, but they're too far to turn back.
Something deeply wrong, and any movement that supports it,
False
like I said, I go to
equivalencies.
these protests, have a quarter, I'll be fair, a quarter of the people have like Luigi is hot signs, or we have to get a Luigi for Elon Musk or whatever like, so because
why she keep bringing up Luigi? People on the left and the right was agreeing with what he did. Like I'm not saying most people, but like that wasn't a partisan thing. People on the left and the right did not have empathy for what Luigi did. Why does she keep bringing that up? Is it because Luigi may be somebody that might be on the left? I think he was on the left.
because automatically within like the first few months of this movement, someone else hasn't died or something. I mean, that's not really saying much. It took a few years for them to try to kill Trump too.
Okay.
So
Final word, just a moment for Adam, and then we're going to move to our next topic.
I know that I brought up Republicans when I wasn't supposed to, but I've shown a lot of restraint by not bringing up January 6th one time. Not once in
I
this
was
whole
expecting
topic.
you to bring it up right away, in fairness.
I mean, it would have been a decent argument to make, but there's a lot better statistical and, like top-down arguments. So I guess when it comes to the Luigi thing, if we want to go back to the original prompt, which is, does the left have a problem with extremism? Here's my final answer. There is a burgeoning problem with extremism on the left, but I think it's a function of extremism on both sides growing because of the social media environment that we find ourselves in. So when people are going out and doing these free Luigi protests, that's not unique to the left, this type of extremism. And in fact, like if you want to talk about extremism on the right, more than half of sitting Republicans are okay with January 6th or just like refuse to condemn it. Meanwhile, I'm pretty sure every Republican that you'd ask, save like maybe a few that won't be named, would be like, yeah, these protests calling for Luigi, saying Luigi's a good guy, that's terrible. So yes, does the left have a problem with extremist thought? I wouldn't say the left. I would say a small fraction of like people who protest, but at the same time, I don't even know how many of these pro-Luigi socialist people vote Kamala or Biden at the end of the day. So is there a growing extremism problem? Yes, but
it doesn't matter. There's still leftists. There's a lot of people on the right who fall into more of the Nazi camp who don't like Trump because he is not, anti-Jew enough for them. And they still, a lot of them didn't vote for Trump because they felt like he wasn't pro-life enough or he wasn't,
Nah, them motherfuckers voted for Trump. I'm not trying to hear that. There ain't no far right person sit at home, except for maybe Nick Fuentes. Ain't no far right person sit at home because Trump ain't racist enough. Nah, bro. I don't buy that one bit. But it was a lot of people that's far left that sat at home and didn't want to vote for Kamala.
Whatever. So they're still on the right though. So you guys still have to take ownership for things that appear on that side of the political spectrum.
No, I don't take ownership for shit on the far left. Y'all don't have to take ownership for shit on the far right. You don't have to take that shit.
I condemn it, as I'm sure you would condemn most of the attacks that I could list. But I guess if I framed it in this way, to end it off, would you agree?
Yeah, but a lot of they ass agree with January 6th.
If I said this, over the past decade, right-wing extremism has been more prevalent, and it still seems to be, but now there is a burgeoning problem of left-wing violence.
I know it's very
Brad keep caping, bro. Isn't it supposed to be between them two? Why you keep caping, bro?
very difficult, for leftists to think that like answers that come up when they Google things aren't like 100% the truth. One of the factors on the right is we have a severe distrust of things like the FBI and the ADL. So I don't believe those numbers at their face. That's the first thing. The second thing is what you guys have to understand is you have a denial of the extremism. That's the main problem. You can't even get to seeing it because you're in denial of it. So you don't need to threaten anybody with bringing up January 6th because it would have been a dumb thing to bring up. I thought you were being smart by not bringing it up.
That would have been a silver bullet argument.
To compare a one-day thing for which one person who was on the team of the protesters died compared to 30 people losing their life.
Oh my God, this is such a terrible, bro. You got people that got duped into thinking the election was stolen, went to the Capitol to try to coup the fucking White House and overturn, and the president, the previous president tried to overturn the results of the election, and he lied to his supporters, and they tried to coup the country. That's incomparable to protest over 6 months where 30 people died. And who knows, the police probably killed a lot of them people. It's not about the deaths at January 6th. It was the fact that the president himself lied to the country and his supporters to the point where they got up to try to overturn the government. And the thing is, y'all don't even want to admit that they don't want to admit the part that they that Trump really believes it, because it's either that Trump is a liar or he's fucking stupid. It's one of the two. You have to accept one of those two answers. And they don't want to. They think he really believes it. But these people, because honestly, if you think the election's stolen, yes, you should go try to fucking coup. You should. If an election was legitimately stolen, it should be cooled. I get it. So they really believe that shit, but they were lied to.
Over stupidity in the summer of 2020, all at the hands of Democrats, there isn't any
At
comparison.
the hands of Democrats, what the fuck?
I thought you were being smart by not bringing that up.
Trump is the one who stirred up January 6th. What did
Yes.
Biden say about BLM? Did he say to stop the riots or keep the riots going?
He
I don't
condemned
know
it,
what
but
he
he was
said
pretty
specifically
muted.
about Black Lives Matter.
Up next,
He condemned it, but what? Wait,
He said to
what?
stop the riots or keep the riots going?
he
I don't
condemned
know
it,
what
but
he
he was
said
pretty
specifically
muted.
about Black Lives Matter.
He condemned it, but he was muted. Bro, he just had to hedge. Oh my
Up next,
gosh.
we're going to talk about the big, beautiful bill, the massive spending and tax package
Adam
that the
smirking.
Trump
He like, you
administration
better
is
not say
pushing.
nothing good
Republicans
about
in
this
Congress
shit.
are hammering through, but the girls are fighting,
That was
as I
some
like to
bullshit,
say.
bruh.
Elon Musk is coming out and tweeting
condemned
against
it,
this
but he was
package
pretty
pretty
muted.
strenuously.
Come on, bro.
He wrote, "I'm sorry, but I just can't stand it anymore. This massive, outrageous, pork-filled congressional spending bill is a disgusting abomination. Shame on those who voted for it. You know you did wrong. You know it." So that's pretty strong language. Blair, I'll come to you first because I know that you've been appreciative of Elon in the past, as have I, although I've personally soured on him quite a bit. But on this one, I'm Team Elon. I mean, the Trump administration keeps denying it, but this bill, the big, beautiful bill, which I kind of ridiculous name, but legislation often has ridiculous names, it would add somewhere between 3 to 5, or even seen 6 trillion to the national debt over a decade. That to me is a betrayal of what MAGA voted for. Trump said he would reduce the debt or even balance the budget, not push through something that would explode it. Are you Team Elon or Team Trump on this?
I'm definitely Team Elon. I think that it takes conviction to, he's not falling into like welcoming arms or anything, or people don't want to give him, his flowers for actually dissenting. He's not going to get them. So it shows, conviction and courage. And so I appreciate that. And I agree, first of all, ugly abomination is crazy during Pride Month, so he should probably watch his mouth. But also, the bill is horrendous. The bill is horrendous, and the title of it, it's not confusing why they titled it. It's the same reason why Black Lives Matter call themselves Black Lives Matter. It's like you give it a name that sounds good, and then a certain percentage, 25% of the population is too low IQ to look past that. And you definitely see those Republicans on X who don't understand that this does fall on Trump's shoulders, and it is his fault. The really bad things in the bill, like the stuff about how all 50 states can't regulate AI or decisions made by AI for the next 10 years. The amount of atrocities that can happen in a 10-year period with AI is really scary. And then obviously that's a trampling on states' rights to do that. So it's horrendous. And it's a reminder that, the older I get, at least, it's very clear that this is why maybe I get a little more like annoyed with the tit for tat stuff, because when you look at it, the left-right paradigm really is a scam in a lot of ways. It's not to say that voting left or right, depending on.
Hold on, y'all. I'm finna set my fan up hot as shit.
On the climate and the situations and who's up for office doesn't make sense on a different time. So at different times it will make sense to cast a vote a certain way. So it doesn't suddenly mean that it made more sense to vote for Kamala. If I had known this was going to come before I voted, I still would have voted for Trump for many reasons. But it's just a reminder that, we're getting F no matter what it is. It's really scary. And especially when it comes to the surveillance state stuff that Trump pushes through, it's very, I don't know. I'm no stranger to being disappointed by Trump, obviously. Like, I call him the king of the vaccine, been against that since the beginning. So it's no foreign concept that Trump on some things clearly gets the call
king of the vaccine
from, the people in the room that are the real president. So,
well, I'll go to you, Adam, on this in particular. I'll ask about Medicaid separately. So let's not get into that. Let's focus on the tax and deficit implications of the big, beautiful bill. For me, the deficit is my main concern because I'm a fiscal hawk. But I will say Democrats seem opposed to the idea of extending the Trump tax cuts at all from his first term. And were they not to do that, that's one of the main things this bill does. Most Americans would see a tax hike. Do you support that? Do you think most Americans should, or should they find a way to enshrine these cuts?
I want to go tit for tat with Blair on this one. No, I'm just playing. I'm joking. But
I'm not even in the question.
I was about to say, I'm like,
in all
damn,
seriousness. Well, first of all, just to back up for 1 second, and then we'll talk about the tax cuts and the permanence of them. I think that the bill just is antithetical to a lot of what Trump ran on, and I agree with a lot of what Blair said. Some of it, he ran on obviously Doge cutting waste, fraud, and abuse. Now he's blowing up the debt. He ran on helping the middle and lower class. And this actually brings me into the taxes pretty perfectly, because while yes, I do think the extension of the 2017 Tax Cuts and Jobs Act would be solid. Without that, taxes would go up. It's more about the disproportionate permanence of the tax cuts for the richest of the rich. And then again, yeah, just the disproportionate tax cuts that go towards rich corporations. And then I know you said we'll get to Medicaid later, so I don't even want to dig into that. But one of the big problems Democrats have, I just want to caveat, Democrats aren't just mad that there are certain tax cuts. We're not even mad that the tax cuts from 2017 are extended. It's the fact that it seems very much so like you are pulling money from the House Energy and Commerce Committee, Medicaid in particular, to then make space for those tax cuts. That seems to be the problem of a lot of Democrats.
Yeah, we'll get into the Medicaid thing in a moment. But Adam, I'll just challenge you on this a little bit. It is true that if you run the numbers and see who do the tax cuts benefit the most, it will skew towards the upper echelons of income earners. But Adam, that's because they pay most federal taxes. If you look at federal income taxes, which is the main tax we're talking about here, it is disproportionately paid by the highest earners already.
Why is his YouTube plaque so low? I'm sorry, that just bothered me. Like, I'm not good at decorating. Y'all see my shit. I just did what I could. I'm not good at this shit. But I would not have the plaque that low. It just seems so out of place. He could replace it with that green picture over there to his left, our right. It's just so low. It looks weird.
So if you're going to be cutting taxes, you're always going to end up with these numerical analyses that show up to, mostly benefits this. With the corporate tax as well, it's actually, there's economic literature on this, largely borne by workers through lower wages and lower investment. Even Democratic-aligned tax organizations estimate that portion of it being borne as high as 1/3. So I guess the idea that these tax cuts mostly go to the rich, a majority of people will get a tax cut. A lot of the dollar total value may go to higher earners, but that's because they pay more taxes. Isn't that just part of a tax cut?
No, I definitely understand the fact that if you're paying $4 million, or if you're making $4 million, then you're going to be paying a lot more. But I guess my question that I would pose to you or Blair is, how do you justify the permanence of the tax cuts towards the upper echelon? Meanwhile, like, the lower tax cuts expire again.
Well, all the tax cuts should be made permanent if they're going to make them, because in my view, as a fiscal hawk, the point of lowering taxes is to improve incentives and encourage people to invest more, work more. And if it's temporary, then it doesn't, because people plan in 5, 10, 15-year timelines. But what happens is they make them temporary as a budget gimmick to reduce the score from the Congressional Budget Office about how much it will add to the debt. If they made them permanent, then instead of the 3 to 5 trillion we've been talking about, it'd be a much bigger number. So that's why they do that. I'll bring in Blair here. Do you think, though, with the kind of populist strain of MAGA, is it a bad look to be doing these tax cuts? I support them, right? But for richer people and corporations right now.
I don't really know. I know that one of the few good things about Trump is that he does allow sort of that core MAGA base to reel him in on certain things sometimes. Like,
you think are redeeming, like, it's not great.
So that the vast majority of this flows.
But are there other things in the big, beautiful bill that you think are redeeming? Like, for example, the border security funding that
I agree.
I mean, I at least think we sorely need.
Yeah. So, I mean, the big, beautiful bill is really big. And so, life is not black and white. So there is gray and there is nuance and there are some good things in it. But oftentimes those are the things that get you to be okay with the more nefarious things. So, for example, there is some like anti-trans minor stuff in there that I've heard, that he's making it harder for trans children to get surgical.
Well, yeah, Medicaid, the health insurance program, the government health insurance program, Medicaid, will no longer cover gender transition treatments. So hormones, puberty blockers, surgeries, anything for minors. And I believe potentially also
which I would 100% agree with
on Medicaid. So yeah, you can speak to that, Blair.
Which I would 100% agree with. And I also agree with it when it pertains to adults as well, because I think a lot of this is cosmetic and a lot of it isn't necessary. The problem with that, though,
I get it. I just think that's true. It is cosmetic, and a lot of it probably isn't necessary. But I just wonder, those extreme cases. There's extreme cases, and I'm not saying gotta necessarily be covered by Medicaid or Medicare or whatever. I don't know. I just wonder how those extreme cases be handled. Those people that really, really, like Blair luckily has the money to do everything she needs to do to feel how she wants to feel. So I just wonder, like, do you not want that for people that don't have your money? Like, so they could. Now I get it. Like, some things it's like getting breast. It's like that's a little different, I don't know, man.
There's still several states that are still covering sex changes for people in prison, which is like, then it's like, okay, but if people in prison, why not regular citizens? But that's another topic. The point is,
well, the difference, the difference is people in prison, they That's a good argument towards letting people have it, because if people in prison can get it, but I guess it's the issue is if they've already, the thing is, I think when you're in prison, if you're already on it, that's when you can get it. You can't just up and start getting the medication for gender affirming care while you're in prison. But if you're already on it and you need to consistently take it so you don't have any adverse side effects that could endanger your life, whether it be through not taking what you need or other people doing things to you because now you're starting to change how you look physically, they have to supply you. Like, it's just same as somebody's diabetic. You can't just strip somebody of their diabetes medicine because they're in jail. That's inhumane. So that's the difference. You can't just start it in jail. If you have it, if it's anything to sustain your quality of life, that's why they still get it in jail. When you're not in jail, I guess that's why I said I don't know how I feel about it. It's hard for me to make that determination. Like, it's cosmetic. I think some of it is cosmetic, but some of it ain't cosmetic. I don't know. Like, I don't know. It's just so, the area of it is so different. I can't definitively say how I feel.
That may make people who are looking at the medical stuff feel a little more safe. Like, okay, we're getting rid of like paying for these barbaric surgeries and everything that their favorite libs of TikTok and conservative influencers, speak out about, and rightfully so. But there's also stuff in the big, beautiful bill that erodes your right to not be subject to medical experiments when it comes to AI, AI making decisions about your health, and then you can't sue anybody. So it's like, there's more to it than people understand. And that's why, they gave it the name for a reason, for optics. And they included things like, sticking it to the trans kid stuff, because there's other medical stuff that has dire implications for every adult and every kid as well.
Yeah, I'll just say that's why
scary.
I call me old fashioned, but I think we should go back to funding the government one department at a time rather than these massive cromnibus bills. Adam, I want to move us to our final topic, but just quickly, do you think it's fair for them to cut off Medicaid coverage for gender treatments for minors, or do you oppose that?
No, it's fine.
Okay, that's a somewhat hot take for a Democrat, but okay.
I mean, maybe. I mean, we're in a new era. We're in a new era, man.
All right.
Democrats had no choice after the election. They understood that the 90 issues that they're willing to sacrifice for, some of them are able to now be like, actually, we can get rid of that. Whereas
I am a very inclusive, like a very inclusive person. I'm not going to fight over whether Medicaid should include some of the stuff. My question would be, does it cover other cosmetic surgeries?
I can't tell you, but I doubt it.
Probably not.
I doubt it.
Right.
Insurance doesn't really cover cosmetic surgery.
Yeah.
I will say, though, the one big beautiful bill, I do agree with Blair. Really solid name. I heard Caitlin Collins on CNN the other day calling it that. And I'm like, what a win.
It's
what a win for Trump to even name it.
It's going to be the biggest, the most beautiful.
Even though it's big and costly.
Okay. And thank you guys so much for your time. I'm really enjoying this conversation. I imagine people will. They'll have to let me know in the comments.
Okay. All right.